Okay, so this is my studio production midterm. I'm Blake Sowry, fourth year media student. Okay, so number one, explain the importance of the crew involved in making the show. Well, the crew is important because if everyone didn't come together and if everyone doesn't know their job, individually and respectively, then the entire show can go south. So it's very important that everyone as a whole knows what they're doing. And yeah, so I guess I'll just move on to number two and explain those roles independently. Okay, so director. The director is basically the manager of the studio. He keeps everything in check, makes sure that all of the shots are composed properly, and just basically manages the entire studio, makes sure that all the cameras are operating correctly, all the other equipment is operating efficiently. The assistant director keeps time for the director and is also, previous to the show airing, is basically a second hand in calling the shots and making sure that everything is composed properly. The production assistant makes sure that all of the needs are met with the crew, basically just cleans up anything that isn't where it needs to be, just bounces around the entire studio, making sure that everything is in the right place, and just basically doing any last minute nitty gritty work that might need done in the studio. The teleprompter operator, he controls the speed of the dialogue. He controls speed of the dialogue during the show as they air on the teleprompter on the cameras. He also types and enters the script into the computer before the show goes on, so he's in charge of making sure the script is written out properly so the talents can read it on the camera right and not mess anything up during the show. The CG op, the computer graphics operator, is in charge of all the graphics that appear on screen, whether they be title screens, like host and guest titles, stuff like that. Also, he's in charge of making sure the credits are all typed out properly, and things of that sort. The technical director, he is the one that performs all of the cuts and like fade to black, go into commercial breaks, stuff like that. And sometimes the technical director can also be in charge of airing the computer graphics that the CG op readies. So the CG op will ready the CG, and then the technical director will take the CG and it will air live. Audio engineer, he controls all the audio from the mixer. He's in charge of making sure that the mics are properly placed on the talents and that they are leveled correctly. And he's also in charge of the audio that is heard in the control room. And that's very important because if the audio is messed up in the control room, then nobody can hear the show correctly, and then everything can just go south because nobody actually will know that the audio doesn't sound right if the audio engineer doesn't have the sound up in the control room. So just a lot of nitty-gritty things that come along with being an audio engineer. They also are in charge for the music on like Welcome Back segments and things like that. The lighting engineer is the next one. It's basically self-explanatory. He's in charge of all of the lights that are part of the studio. And my experience with lighting engineer has been just not very in-depth because all of the lights in the studio that are working in CCM are the only lights that we use for the show. So I haven't really had much experience in having to like change lighting during a show and stuff like that, so I can imagine it could be very challenging sometimes if you don't know how to do it. But yeah, other than that, lighting engineer just controls all the lights that go on in the show. The VTR op, videotape recorder operator, plays any CD or DVDs that will air over the commercial break. So it's their job to have the DVDs ready before the commercial break comes, so they can be ready to play it when it's time to take the DVD. Take a DVD. And that is located in the rec room. Camera 1 is in charge of the bus shot of the host, and they are in constant communication with the director to make sure that the proper shot composition is being achieved. If the camera operator doesn't know really necessarily how to operate a camera, then it can be very frustrating for the director, because director expects their camera operators to be able to properly compose a shot, and that can be annoying for the director if they don't know what they're doing. So it's pretty important. Like I said, camera 1 is in charge of the bus shot of the host. Camera 2 is in charge of the 2 shot, which is of the host and the guest together, and yeah, same thing in communication with the director. And yeah, camera 3 is in the same way, except it's the bus shot of the guest. So camera 1, host; camera 2, middle; camera 3, guest. Next is the floor manager. The floor manager is a very, very important position because he is the one that communicates with the talent during the show. He gives commands to inform the talent, like how much time is left during commercial breaks, how much time until they need to start talking, stuff like that. He also gives motions such as like stretch or speed up, which are commands to inform how much time is left and how much the talent needs to like spread out the dialogue or speed up the dialogue in order to keep the show running at a fluid motion. And last but not least are the 2 talents. Talent 1 is the host, who is the host of the show. They are in charge of airing the content that is played during the show, and they read the script via the teleprompter, which was input by the teleprompter operator. And yeah, it's talent 1, talent 2. Talent 2 is the guest. Talent 1 is the host. So yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. And last, what have I learned about studio production? I have learned a lot of things about studio production so far this semester. I never really had a whole lot of experience working in a studio coming in to this semester or to school in general, so it's definitely given me a lot of valuable insight as far as how studio productions or studios are ran. Yeah, just so this class is it's definitely a good entry level way to teach someone how to work in a studio, basically. Yeah, so yeah, so that should be it, and I'm going to sign off. Thanks.